Welcome back. My name is Melissa and I'm here with the Abbey Community School Society, ready for our next science experiment. Before we begin, remember our 3 science rules. Remember not to eat or drink anything during our experiment. If you want to smell, make sure you're wafting. And don't put your head right over your experiment, otherwise things might splash into your face. Okay, our lab today is called Water Bottle Fountain, and we hope to make a fountain just using a few simple supplies. So what you should have in front of you is a water bottle, a clear glass or a cup for pouring, a bendy straw, a pen, some sticky tack, a balloon, a bowl to collect any leaks later on, and you may want a funnel. Okay, so first we want to put our water into our glass container so that our water bottle can be empty. Okay. All right, so now that you have done that, we're going to talk a little bit about matter. What is matter? Okay. Matter is what we call stuff in science. So matter is almost everything we see in the room around us. Matter is made up of little tiny building blocks called molecules. And I like to think these are like Lego blocks. Okay. So one Lego block or one molecule. You could take a whole bunch of Lego blocks and build a rocket ship or a house, or you could take a whole bunch of molecules and with putting them together, you can build anything from a table to a person, to a camera, to the light bulbs. So almost everything we see is made up of molecules and therefore is made up of matter. Now, what do you think about the air in this room? Is it made of matter? Well, we could also think about water. Is this water made of matter? So matter is anything that takes up space and has a weight to it. So air is made of matter, even though we can't see it. And water is also made of matter, and we can see it. Okay, so now if we're thinking about matter, when we look at this water bottle, is it empty or is it full? What do you think? Right, we poured out the water, so there's no more water in it, but is there anything in our bottle right now? Well, think about that, and we're gonna try our first experiment. So first watch me, and then you can do it yourself. We're going to blow up a balloon and carefully put it on top of our bottle and see what happens to the air in our balloon. Okay. Is that air going to move? Is it going to go into the bottle, or is it going to stay in the balloon? Let's try it out. What is happening to our balloon full of air? It's staying inside the balloon. Why did it not deflate? Why did the air not move into the bottle? Okay, this is because our bottle is full of matter, invisible matter, and that's called air. Remember, air is made of matter even though we can't see it. And there are air molecules moving around in our bottle, and there's no space for them to leave. So it's full of molecules, and there's air molecules in our balloon, and so there's nowhere for those molecules to go except stay in the balloon and stay in the bottle. All right. Let's see if we can take our balloon off. There we go. Now, we are going to start the second part of our experiment. Okay. For this, we will need a pen. Make sure you've taken the cap off and your empty water bottle. Okay. Now we want to put our lid on our water bottle. And for this part of the experiment, you may need an adult to help you if you are younger. We want to poke a hole into the bottle about 1/3 of the way from the bottom. And we want to poke a hole in the side of the bottle using the pen. So for this, I'm going to put the bottle on its side on the table so I have a nice firm surface. I'm going to take the pen and carefully put a hole in the side of the bottle. There we go. So now I have a hole in the side of my bottle. We want to make sure that it is big enough for our straw to go through. So you might want to put your pen all the way through and make it a little bit wider. Okay, so now we have a hole in our bottle. We are going to take our bendy straw and put it through the hole. Make sure that you keep the bendy part outside of the bottle. All right, so it should look something like this. Now, we're going to add water to our bottle, but if we do it now, it's going to leak out of that hole that we made. So we want to plug that hole using some sticky tack. So go ahead, get your sticky tack, and you might have to warm it up in your fingers for a few seconds to get it nice and moldable. And then all we want to do is put it around the straw at the bottle to cover that hole that we made. Okay, so it should look something like this. If it starts leaking later on in our experiment, just go ahead and make sure it sticks onto the bottle, or even add a little bit more sticky tack. All right, so for this next part, we are going to add water. But before we add the water, we have to make sure that our straw is pointing upwards. So the bending part of our straw can extend and point upwards. All right. We are going to add enough water so that it is level with the top of our straw. Okay, so when we're pouring in the water, make sure that it stays level with the top of the straw that's sticking outside of our bottle. Okay. And now I see here, when I move the straw, my sticky tack came out of place. So you want to go ahead and make sure that sticky tack is back in place before you add your water. All right, so you're welcome to do this over top of your bowl in case you spill any water. All right, so I notice I have a really big leak. I'm going to stop adding my water. If what happened to me also happened to you, the reason why my bottle was leaking was because the hole in my bottle was a little bit too big. So this time I got some sharp scissors and a new bottle, and I'm going to try and get a nice tiny hole in my bottle. So you want to do this really carefully because you're opening up the scissors. And about 1/3 up from the bottom of the bottle, we're going to try and make this hole. So we want to put the point of our scissors towards the plastic and just move back and forth really carefully until we get our little hole, okay? All right, so once we get a hole, then we're ready to move on. Now, if this didn't work for you, you can always try something else. Brainstorm something else that might be sharp and able to put just a little tiny hole in the side of your bottle. Okay, something I think of is maybe a drill bit. Okay, if your parents or an adult in your house has a drill bit, you can try that out as well. Okay, so now that I have a little hole, you can go ahead and put your straw in, just so you know what it's going to look like. So we're going to put our straw in, and remember, you can squish your straw a little bit. And this is just so that we can look to see what this is going to look like, okay? When we're ready to do this, we're going to have the straw pointing upwards, so the bendy part is pointing up to the sky, okay? All right, so we're gonna take our straw out, and if we were to add water right now, what do you think would happen? That's right, our water will escape the bottle through the hole. So we want to plug that hole using sticky putty. We're going to turn them into a stopper so that when we put our straw into our bottle, no leaks will happen. Okay, so we're going to take one piece of clay and we're going to mold it into a small snake. Okay, something like this. And now we're going to take the straw about halfway up from the bottom of the straw to the bendy part of the straw. We're going to wrap it around. Okay, so it's around the straw. Now we are going to taper the bottom. Okay, that means that the top of the clay will be wider than the bottom of the clay against the straw. So let me do it and then I can show you what it looks like. All right, so if you look at that, the clay is tapered towards the bottom of the straw. Now just for extra protection, I'm going to take the second ball of clay and turn it into a little snake again. Okay, and I'm going to wrap this around the middle of the clay, just so it gives a little bit more protection for our stopper. Okay, so when we look at our stopper, we should have a wide band of clay and the bottom should taper towards the bottom of the straw. Now when we put this inside of our bottle, we want to make sure that a little bit of this clay goes into the bottle. So it's kind of like a sandwich. There's going to be a little bit of clay and then the plastic bottle and then a little bit of clay. And hopefully that will help keep the water from leaking out of our bottle. Okay? So keep squishing until some of that clay you see moving through the hole into the inside of the bottle. All right. Now we should make sure that our straw, our bendy straw, is pointing upwards. And hopefully this will not let any water leak out of our bottle. All right, so we want to keep our lid off for now. We're going to move our bowl underneath in case we have any leaks. Okay, now we are ready to add our water. So for this, remember that we are adding our water so that it is in line with the top of our straw. So make sure when we pour in our water, it comes to close to the top of the bottle so it's in line with the top of our straw. Just a little bit more. Okay. So it's okay if there's a little bit of a leak. That is all right. That's why we have our bowl underneath our bottle. Now, do you notice what's happening over here by the end of our straw? There's a little bit of water dropping out. That's because I added a little bit too much water to the top. So it's evening out and balancing out with the straw. All right, there we go. All right, now we're ready to add our balloon. Okay, so right now if we look at our bottle, mostly, other than the little leak, the water is staying inside of our bottle and it's not coming out of our straw. So what do you think is going to happen if we blow up a balloon and once again put our balloon on top? And what's going to happen to the water? This is another good time to make a hypothesis. So when we add a balloon full of water, do you think the water is going to stay inside the bottle? Or do you think the water is going to escape? Where's that water going to go? Is it going to escape out the top of the bottle? Is it going to escape out the straw? Okay, this is a good time to make your prediction. And then we're going to carry on with our balloon part of our experiment. We're ready to add our balloon. Okay, so we're going to blow up our balloon and then put it on the mouth of our bottle, and we're going to see what happens. Is that big enough? I think that's good. So a good way to do it so that our air does not escape is to twist the balloon twice, and then we can put the mouth of our balloon over top of the bottle. All right, now when we let go of the balloon, we want to make sure that the bottle stays over top of the bowl so that our fountain doesn't spill everywhere. Okay, so let's try it out. What do you see happening? You can always push on your balloon to see if you can add any more force to get that water coming out of your fountain. Oh. If you put your hand over top of the straw, what do you feel? I feel air coming from the balloon. Why is it not spraying out any more water? Well, if you look inside, our straw is now above the water level, right? Our water has come out of the straw enough so that there's not that much water left in our bottle. What do you think is going to happen when the balloon shrinks all the way down? Okay, so what do you think happened? How did this fountain work? Remember, at the beginning, I said that air is made of matter, right? So when I blew up our balloon full of air, that air was made of matter. And this time, when we had air in the balloon, there's a little bit of air in the bottle, and mostly water in the bottle, there was an escape route, right? Before, when we did the experiment without the straw and without the water, there was nowhere for our air inside of our balloon to go. But this time, we have an escape route, right? And that is our straw. So our air inside of our balloon was pushing down the water in our bottle, and it made the water push up and out of the straw. So we can talk about air pressure. Air pressure is the weight of air pushing down on a different material. So in this case, the air inside of our balloon was pushing down on the water and making it escape out of the bottle. Okay? Now, this brings us to the end of this part of our experiment. You are welcome to try a few different things to see if the experiment works differently. So you're welcome to try and blow up your balloon again, but only a little bit. Does it still have the same effect on moving the water out of the straw? What if you were to blow up the balloon even bigger? Would it have the same effect on moving the water out of the straw? Or what do you think would happen if you filled up your bottle with only a little bit of water? So the water was just above the level of the straw. Would it still have enough pressure in the balloon to push that water out of the straw? What if you filled your bottle all the way full of water? Would the same thing happen? How could you make the water come out faster out of your straw? Right? How much force could you put on the balloon before that pushed the water completely out of the bottle? So these are some things that you can try at home, and there are different variables that you can test on your water bottle fountain. I hope you enjoyed this experiment today, and I hope to see you next time.